Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Bell with Bobby Blaze. I am your host, the human smokestack, Jeremy Vilmer, and joining us now, the star of the show, Bobby Blaze.
Hey, thanks, Jeremy. I am Bobby, the anti-mind Blaze, and I'm glad to be back on the air with you. You know, it has been 90 hours since we last recorded our last show, but we're getting on some kind of a schedule again, and we're going to be releasing on a pretty regular basis. We're trying to figure a few things out, but man, it sure was good to record and listen to episode 24 last week of my 10 favorite matches. But, man, I'm just glad to be back on the air with you because this is going to be episode 25, and this is an important episode. This one is to be called The Most Influential Women of Pro Wrestling. And so, fans, friends, Jeremy, let's get ready to get started with episode 25, The Most Influential Women of Professional Wrestling this week, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I got a little nervous because we got that hitch in our get-along a couple weeks back, and we didn't know when we were going to record this, that, and the other, and then I read an article that said most podcasts that stop around episode 20. And I said, son of a bitch, that's us. We better get something recorded right away. So we are here. This is episode 25, which is an awesome milestone for us, a quarter of the way to 100. I think we deserve a little pat on the back there. So pat yourself on the back, Bobby.
I sure will. I'll do my best Barry Horowitz impersonation.
Damn right.
All right.
So we get any feedback or anything you want to mention before we jump into our shout-outs and our list here?
Not drawing a blank, trying not to bullshit or make up anything. I had a couple private messages that basically said, you know, they enjoyed the list and they was going to definitely look up some of the matches. Some of them were on YouTube and some of them weren't, but they was intrigued by them. Someone did find a Smoky Mountain Wrestling tape that had the match I mentioned with Bob Borton Jr. and Bob Armstrong on it.
Awesome.
So I know that's out there. And so, yeah, that's really about it as far as feedback. You know, we're trying to pick up steam again, I think. I think people hopefully will, like I said, we got past episode 20. We're at episode 25. Hopefully people stay out there listening to us in Podcastville, if you will.
Yeah, I know for a fact, because I went and looked at the statistics, I can tell you most of our listeners are still there. So
good.
That's a good sign. Before we get started, I do want to mention something for people down there in the southeastern part of the United States. The state of Florida has banned greyhound racing and has thousands of greyhounds that need homes. So if you've ever considered, fostering a greyhound, a retired racer, and now is a good time to do it. There are thousands of dogs there who will be put to sleep if somebody does not start adopting them. I just want to let everybody know.
Get out there and adopt them, people. Man, you know, I lived in Florida, and I know there were a shitload of greyhound tracks down there, and I was unaware of this news, so thanks for sharing it, not with just the audience, but with me as well. We'll put that out there on our pages. You can hit Jeremy up at the Geekage Cast. You can hit me up at Bobby Blaze 744, and then our Twitter account, there's a joint account that Jeremy's doing so awesome with, is Bell to Bell Blaze, and maybe we'll put some stuff on there concerning that, Jeremy, so we can get that word, get that message out there to those dogs, those special dogs, those greyhounds, man, those racers, those hard hitters, man, out there chasing Sparky around the track. They need some homes. Let's help them get some homes, man, you know.
I don't have room for thousands of them, and that's what it's going to come down to, is I'll have to adopt them all if people don't step up.
Well, thanks for sharing it with us, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did get a little feedback, but I got some from the Halloween episode asking me why I didn't like Day of the Dead. It's because it's a boring movie. Sorry, everybody.
There you go.
Yeah, it just doesn't grab me.
Yeah, I have got some private messages. I don't need to mention any names because I told them I wouldn't, but I've got about 3 people that I talked to privately that I'm really glad to hear from because they tell me this show really helps them get through their day or a time they're going through. They really enjoy just listening to us because we're just two really down-to-earth people, they say. I think that one guy one time said country. That was a public statement. Said, you boys are country or something, you know. And that's fine. But I've got about 3 people that'll send me a little message now and again saying, man, thanks for putting out the podcast. You just don't know how much it helps me. And being a podcast fan myself, you know, and I listen to other podcasts, obviously, I know it does help you get by sometimes. So for a few people that I'm not giving any personal shout-outs to, you probably know who you are, and it's always good to hear from you. And it always makes my heart smile on the inside, man, when something someone says something so kind to you that, you've kind of made their day or helped their hour pass by, so.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. That is nice to hear from people. Well, with that said, Bobby, you want to do any shout outs this week?
The shout out goes to FTC Pro Wrestling as Failure to Conform. Failure to Conform. They are ran out of Ironton, Ohio. They run over here in the tri-state area of Ashland, Kentucky, Ironton, Ohio, and Huntington, West Virginia. They do go to shows, all over this area. They did a really nice, some of the boys there did a real random act of kindness, if you will, from myself. So I just want to make sure that those guys know. I know a couple of them listen to the show. I don't want to leave anyone out, but I do know that Team Inc., who's a very over tag team. I know Misery and Alex, and also we mentioned Casey King before. And if I'm leaving any guys off of there or girls off the list, I don't mean to. I'm just going by memory here. But they did a little random act of kindness for me, and I know a few of them are fans of the show. And I know they treat each other like family over there. And Failure to Conform Professional Wrestling, I think they're a really good group of guys and girls. I know they work hard. I know they put on good shows. And it's good to see when good independent shows take place. It's good. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Shane Storm up in West Virginia. He texts me once or twice a week and always checks on me. And I've been telling Shane for a while, I've been meaning to give him a shout out just because he wouldn't want one. He's not that kind of guy. He's a good guy. But I'm going to give him one anyway because he's worked for Failure to Communicate. I always call it that. I even went and announced it, and I said failure to confirm.
God damn, Bobby.
Damn. Listen, FTC. What's funny is someone was just telling me the other day they heard me announcing in April, and I buried someone doing a fucking Doink the Gimmick clown gimmick. Over the fucking PA, and I buried these two girls that's caught them local fucking from the gentleman's club down the street as I announced them from. I mean, you know me, I'm just going to say whatever. But anyway, failure to, what is it? FTC, failure to fucking conform. But anyway, thank you, gentlemen and ladies, and that whole professional circuit of people. I'm glad I was able to help you out doing some stuff involving wrestling because it came full circle, and you all was able to help me out concerning something that I was in much need of this past week, and I appreciate it very, very much. So thank you, and that's my shout-outs, the random act of kindness, to pay it forward, and believe me, I will, because I'm that kind of person, and I think everyone should. If someone does something good for you, whether it's buy a cup of coffee to the person in line behind you at the Tim Hortons or McDonald's or wherever, you know what, man, pay it forward. And every once in a while, just take the time to do a random act of kindness for someone, because you never know when you talk about making someone's heart warm on the inside. Something so simple sometimes can just warm your heart, melt your heart, make you feel really good. So even though I'm fucking up saying the name, I'll just say FTC and all the guys and girls there, thank you very much.
Yeah, I was going to make a comment about how, you know, failure to conform sounds like a bunch of hoodlums. But
yeah, and they are, actually.
Yeah, but I don't need to make fun of them, because I think you fucked them up enough right there.
I did, and but they know, and
yeah.
Hopefully they get it, and word will spread that I did at least fucking thank them, you know. So I did get that out, but that was my shout out, I guess. And I guess we better give Adam a shout out for getting us booked at this week's hotel, and we're coming to you this week from the Riviera Hotel and Casino, the Riv, as is known out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Give you little facts about that real quick, Jeremy, if you don't mind.
Sure thing.
We done Ashland, Kentucky last week, and that went pretty cool, I thought. But now we're out here in Las Vegas, man, and of course they got the Cauliflower Ear Club out there in Las Vegas every year. B. Brian Blair, shout out to you for being president. They do it at a different casino, of course, but the Riviera is where the Glow was shot from the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling from 1986 through 1989. But it was opened in April of 1955. It closed down in May of 2015. Liberace cut the opening ribbon, and he became the first resident performer there. There were some really good movies, too many movies to name, Con Air, Hangover, some of those movies. But a couple of my favorites was Vegas Vacation, and one of my all-time favorites from 1995, Casino, was recorded there, so or filmed there, if you will. So, of course, all those Vegas places make it seem like on the Strip and the dunes and all that. But we're doing it because Adam got us booked there, got us a special price. He may have a connection somewhere. I'm not going to say too much about that. You never know. He didn't get us the penthouse, but he got us a pretty damn good room at a pretty good rate. And we're here where the gorgeous ladies of wrestling got to shoot their TV show from 1986 through 1989. And that's that, man. So there we go.
Well, I remember, I was 13 to 16 when that show was around, and I never missed an episode.
All right.
Well, I was kind of the ideal market, the pubescent boy, and then there's chicks out there wearing next to nothing, throwing each other around. It might not have been great wrestling, but it was good TV.
Oh, yeah, good TV, good entertainment. Oh, God, what was that word? Give me 2 seconds here. Hold on 1 second. I love you, too. Be safe. Take care. Bye.
So Jim Cornette came by, I take it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. You know what? He put me over the last 2 weeks on his podcast, and I appreciate that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm behind on listening to podcasts right now because my job change has really screwed up my daily routine.
Yeah. It's always nice to be mentioned on other people's podcasts, but Jimmy had something real nice to say to me or about me last week. And something that totally surprised me, but didn't surprise me. But I'm totally cool with it, with what he said about me this week. And I really appreciate the kind words. I am a huge fan of the Jim Cornette drive-through and also the Jim Cornette experience. And I appreciate the kindness because I can't say enough kind words about Jim Cornette. And, I was telling him I love him there as he left the room. So, there you go. Well, we're doing these most influential women of pro wrestling, man. And I'm just going to go ahead and give you my number one straight to the point, okay? I'm just jumping ahead. I'm going to give mine away right away. I'm not even going to do my honorable mentions. Jeremy, I got to do this to you, man.
Okay.
Sue the Shooter.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for listening. That is it for this episode of Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Sue Shooter, if you're listening, I miss you, baby.
I believe she's with Tiger Jeet Singh right now.
I just have to wait in line anyway. What the hell?
Fuck, we're gonna get sued for this. We're stealing other people's characters and everything.
I guess, man. I don't know. All right.
Well, let's get into this top 10 list if we've hit everything else.
I think you got some honorable mentions. I got some honorable mentions. Then we'll get into our top 10. How's that?
That sounds good. Now, as usual, we usually start a top 10 list with about 95 people and then try to whittle it down from there. This list is no exception. A lot of what we're going to cover, is good or bad, but, who are the most influential women in pro wrestling? So that means that some should have been on a list like this, but didn't make this list. The first person I want to mention is Trish Stratus, who is one of the first real breakout stars of the semi-modern era of wrestling. She was the template for a number of years for what a female wrestler should, quote unquote, should be. She was a fitness model who was pretty decent in the ring. She was okay on a mic, real easy on the eyes, but also she was athletic too. So she could end up on a list like this any day of the week, and it would be totally justifiable. We had so many we had to get to. She just didn't make this list. And then what I would put out there, and an argument can be made either way, I would say Miss Elizabeth. I when I was a kid and, Macho Man was hot and Elizabeth was hot, I knew grown men who watched wrestling just to see her. And you can argue whether or not that's influential, but it is important, and it did put eyeballs on the products that they wouldn't have watched otherwise.
Yes, I agree. And that's two great honorable mentions there. And I think Liz probably just really missed our list, actually, for whatever reason. So, but yeah, she definitely helped change some of, the face of wrestling. Like you said, put eyes on the product for sure.
Yeah.
So my two are mother-daughter team, and it's Cora and Debbie Combs. And they're from Hazard. Cora was from Hazard, Kentucky. She was a female wrestler many, many years, easy on the eyes when she was younger, and she eventually had a daughter. I'm not sure how old she was. She had her daughter. They started teaming together. She trained her. They wrestled together as a tag team. They went around wrestling against each other without people, back in the days of kayfabe. But I've got to put them over because they're from Kentucky, and I know they worked a lot of territories. And I didn't get to see Cora live too many times, although I did get to see her live when the old ICW used to come through my town. But Debbie, the daughter, of course, I start to say younger of the two. Obviously, if you're the daughter, younger of the two. She was pretty easy on the eyes herself, and she worked for ICW quite a bit. And I think Lady Satan was her main opponent a lot when they came through my town, and I got to see Debbie wrestle quite a bit. So that's my two shout-outs, just because of the Kentucky heritage is there. And I found it fascinating as mother-daughter, and they had such a long, long career traveling together, working with each other and against each other. So that's my two right there. I'll leave it at that. I don't have a whole lot of great detail about them other than they're from Hazard, Kentucky, and they worked a shitload of, made a good living at it from my understanding, back in the day, traveling the territories.
Yeah. So those are all people that could have been put on a list very similar to this, just didn't make it this time, but we could always do more influential women of wrestling. So.
There we go. That's it, man. Well, let's start off with number 10. Number 10 has been on one of our lists, if not a couple, in the past. But I think we have to put her on this list. She could, and again, some of these numbers, folks, we could be right or wrong. This is just what Jeremy and I came up with as to what our top 10 is. And we're going to start off with one of the hottest, smokingest babes of all time, man. We got to put it out there. I'll let Jeremy take over after I announce her name because I think he went off last time in a great way, and I hope he does again, is Missy Hyatt, man. Put her out there.
Yeah, well, it's Missy Hyatt. She's on all of my lists. I mean,
the original bombshell, heel, manager, valet, announcer, easy on the eyes. Oh man, she's our answer to the Sheik. She's gonna make all the fucking lists. You know what I'm saying? For whatever reason, but we have our Abby, Sheik, them two. It seemed we could put them on every. We could have any kind of a top 10 list, and at some point, Missy Hyatt's going to be on that list, guys.
Yep.
So get used to it.
We'll just have one day we'll just every week will just be, okay, our 4 most important people in wrestling. Tully Blanchard, Abby, the Sheik, and Missy Hyatt. Thank you, everybody.
There you go. That's great. Yep. You're
yeah, but I mean, let's try to address this one real quick. But we've talked about her before, so I don't want to beat it up too long. But Missy was a reason that I kept watching wrestling when it really sucked. She was a good manager who could shit talk and get a crowd to go nuts. But when they tried to switch her into an interview position, she handled that pretty well as well. Yeah. So she was versatile. She was somebody who would get eyeballs on the screen when they otherwise wouldn't be there. Also, she was kind of, I don't think you would have had Sunny without Missy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
That kind of bitchy blonde thing, I think, really started with her. If it didn't, I'm wrong. I'm not going to believe you if you say that. So,
yeah, no, I think starting off our list with someone as hot as Missy Hyatt, man, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. So,
and like you always said, you said it before, not to be real redundant, but the transactions she made, from manager to announcing, that was she performed, I think, above and beyond what she was originally, what they had originally maybe planned for her. As one of those people that just really done more than I think that they ever, the way they booked her was one way and then she just took off another,
Yeah.
And, in a good way. So
also,
that's your number 10 person.
Also, I think her lawsuit might have helped change the face of wrestling, at least temporarily. Yeah. But perhaps we've said too much.
Okay, so with that said, Jeremy, let's go into, I've got a little short story about this next one, but I'm going to let you announce who number 9 is. How's that?
Oh, sounds good. Number 9 is Medusa Michelli or / Alundra Blaze. I'm going to go with Medusa, though.
Yeah, yeah, go with Medusa.
Yeah. I've heard her story about how she got into wrestling. That would be a crazy phone call to get, where you would be pinching yourself going, wait, this is who? Because it was Wahoo.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep. She got a call from Wahoo McDaniel saying, hey, how'd you like to come wrestle for us?
Man.
So she came along during a time when I wouldn't call women's wrestling very athletic. And she put a different stamp on it, at least here in the States. Japanese wrestling has always been more athletic than American.
Yeah.
But she toured all over Asia. I guess she did quite a bit of her learning in Japan. You know, and for a rough chick, she was pretty fucking hot, too. So, I mean, she definitely brought a new element and style to women's wrestling.
Well, that kind of goes right along with what I was going to say. First of all, I thought she was pretty good looking.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that with here in the United States, I really became a fan of hers when she went to Japan, because I used to get the wrestling magazines and also the VHSs from over in Japan at the time when she was going over quite a bit when I was training down at Malenko's. And so my little tie-in and short story is there was and I just had a private message about this the other day. There was a girl that used to train at Malenko's. She went by Debbie Drake. And she was in line. She went to Japan on several tours. She was going to, Medusa was going to retire, I guess, in Japan. Debbie, who became Debbie Malenko, had a short-lived career. She had an injury, and she also had a serious, I think she was a female firefighter, if I'm not mistaken. So she had a career at that, and chose a, quote, normal life over, becoming a huge wrestling star. She had kind of, I guess Medusa had kind of influenced her once she come over to Japan, and Debbie brought that back. And so while she was training on with the Malenko, she was getting quite a bit of help from Medusa. And I always thought that was kind of a cool tie-in for me to think that, it was kind of like going to be a passing of the torch from everything that took place during that time. It didn't ever happen. Now she's a monster truck driver.
Yep.
And to me, she's always just been a very attractive lady, but probably more importantly than just her attractiveness, was just her athletic ability in the ring. I mean, she had a huge bridge, just the way those Japanese girls and the guys too, they all can fucking bridge great. And Medusa could do that German suplex, and she had just that beautiful bridge, man, with just pick you up. And, it's just, I just was a fan of hers athletically as a, female performer, but when I watched her wrestle, I'd be stupid to say I didn't see a female, because I did. I hate to use the word performer, but I would see a wrestler. She looked to me like she was legitimately could fuck you up and could wrestle, and she just had a smoothness about her and a toughness about her that I really liked. And she could have been higher up on the list or not on the list at all, but I think she deservingly needs to be on the list,
And let me throw out something just to confirm a reason why she should be here. I would say the opening shot of the Monday Night War was her showing up on Nitro and throwing away the WWF Women's title.
Yeah.
Good move or bad move, doesn't matter. It happened, and it was the opening shot of the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah, wow. Well, that's one of those things too. I wasn't even sure when that took place. I knew she had done that. I knew she showed up and done that. But that's for better or worse, when someone does that to a belt, I don't know. But hell, that's why it's a war, I guess. Or it was a war. And for someone to keep on striving in their career, I know we're talking about women, but that takes a lot of balls to do something like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I was getting at. It's not like I couldn't say I didn't see a woman when I saw her wrestle, because I obviously did see a female. But, man, she could just go like one of the guys, if you will. I was just drawn to her not only from a beauty or, that aspect. I was drawn to her for her athleticism and her wrestling ability. So, I wasn't trying to not put her on the list. I was just saying whether she deserves to be number 9, higher, lower, whatever, Medusa gets a vote on our top 10 on this list for sure.
Damn straight. And well, I think well deserved. So,
yes.
You want to do number 8? Or you want me?
Yes, I'll introduce number 8. I'll let you say whatever the hell you want to say. But number 8 was the 8th wonder of the world, if I'm not mistaken. Chyna, was that her nickname? The 8th wonder of the world?
Wasn't she the 9th wonder of the world? Because Andre was the 8th.
Joni, now I'll fuck up her last name. Lauer, is that correct?
I'm pretty sure, yes. I'm pretty sure that's it.
So, yeah, we got Chyna, and, she come out there, and hell, I guess at the time people was accusing her of being a man that had transitioned to a woman or something. I don't know, because I don't think people believed that a female wrestler could look like that. Whether you are into big, strong women like it or not, man, Chyna, there was something about her, man. I liked the way she looked. I didn't care if she was big and strong like that, had muscle like that. And man, she definitely opened my eyes to what she could do. Again, I think she might have been rough around the edges in the ring. I think when I say that, I mean it in a tough way that, you know what? If you kicked or hit her, she's going to kick or hit you back, And I'm sorry I said eighth. I know it's supposed to be a ninth wonder of the world because I don't want to disrespect Andre. But, yeah, Chyna, man, she changed the way a lot of people started looking at female wrestlers, or at wrestling in a whole, probably back during that time, because that was during the Monday Night Wars as well, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Isn't she the only woman to ever hold a major men's title?
Yes, she was the Intercontinental Champion?
Yeah.
Is that not correct?
And her and Jericho feuded. Look, because of the way the end of her life went, I think she is probably looked down on more than she should be right now. Lots of people die because of drugs. It shouldn't recolor the entirety of your life. Chyna was a big, strong, badass woman who could hold her own against men. And because the style of women's wrestling had gone to models over talent, she had to work against men because otherwise she would have just had Sable to work against. Yeah. Look, and, the fact of the matter is Chyna, I think there was some cosmetic work done on her, but regardless of which, she ended up becoming kind of a sex bomb herself towards the end of her run.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, where they let her feminize her look a little bit. Because when they first brought her in, they brought her in to look like a just mean woman.
Right.
Big muscles. And then by the time they were done with her, by the time her full presence became how it would be known, she was definitely feminized, wore sexy clothes. But I know people that named their beloved pets after her after this. She had a massive impact on pro wrestling.
I agree. I agree. And something you said earlier about the way sadly her life was ended. The thing is we talk off the air sometimes, you and I. I'm one of these people, and I think you are too. It's kind of I'll use the Bible sometimes in a secular way, and it's kind of like judge not that you not be judged. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that just because I don't know, for whatever reason, people want to look down on other people. And I don't know if it makes you feel better looking down on someone else, looking down your nose at someone else or whatever. But, sadly, she's passed away, and that's a human being. And irregardless as to how she passed away, that's not full credit given to her life, man, because she not only influenced professional wrestling as a female performer. Man, from my understanding, she overcome a lot of things in her personal life from the time she was a young girl all the way through her adulthood. She was always overcoming something, always overachieving something. And she done something successful for her life, and that's more than a lot of people can say. They at least tried to do something. She not only tried it, she done it. And, I don't place any judgment on any, I don't want to judge her by any means. But I think it's unfair that I think sometimes she kind of gets a bad rap, from a certain company. I think sometimes they just don't, I don't know, they just don't put people over like they should sometimes, or say nice things. Some of the sheets don't say nice things about people. And that's just not fair, man. You shouldn't judge other people that way because, like you said, she did make an impact and have an impact on professional wrestling. And yes, she did become a little bit more feminized, and I don't care if she had some cosmetic work or whatever on her chin or her cheeks or enhancements or whatever. You know what? She was in professional wrestling. Also, at that, what I was going to say is, I'm trying to word this the right way so I don't get heat with everyone.
Yeah.
She was at a point where she became an entertainer as well. She was on some different shows. And so, she done the Playboy. She done the one, I can't think of it, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the house, the Rehab House or something. Whatever it was, I don't know. Some of that stuff, and then of course she became an entertainer. She took her character outside the ring as well. And good on her. Fuck, she deserves to be on this list, man.
Yeah. Well, just she had an impact. I mean, she was like gravity, because when she was on the scene, you could not escape it. She changed the way women were viewed in wrestling, and I would say athletics in general. Because she wasn't just big, but she could actually, like you said, I do believe she was a little rough around the edges in the ring, but she could wrestle.
Yeah.
And look good doing it. And I don't know that she was somebody that could carry a broomstick through a match, but she sure as shit could put on a good match. And I think that gets overlooked now some. I think she's turned into a bit of a joke in some people's estimations. I think she gets forgotten where she shouldn't, and I think it's a goddamn shame.
Yeah. And I want to say this. What you just now said is what I was trying to say. You worded it a hell of a lot better than I did, so thank you very much. You are 100% spot on. So, so number 8 was Chyna. And would you like to introduce number 7 or me?
I'll go ahead and do this one. Number 7 is sensational Sherry Martel.
Oh, I had scary Sherry Martel.
Oh.
No, sensational Sherry Martel comes in at number 7. So,
people can talk about her however they want. You worked around the circle she worked in. I have never heard anybody say too much bad about Sherry Martel, and she was everywhere that mattered in wrestling's history at the time that it mattered.
Yeah.
She was Shawn Michaels' manager when he turned heel. She was always somewhere nearby when everything happened. When Liz and Macho Man broke up, she was Macho Man's manager.
Yeah.
She was always there as shit broke down. When Booker T dropped the N-bomb on live TV, she was standing right behind him.
Yeah. That's the thing. She had an impact on wrestling. What I think about Sherry is, it seemed like when you're saying that, she always had a job at some capacity in professional wrestling. She stayed busy. She was an AWA Women's Champion, I think.
Yep.
I think she's the tag team champions, and then of course she went on to, valet and manage, kind of both. Took on kind of both roles, if you will.
Yep.
I know when she come to Smoky Mountain Wrestling, she was nothing but good as gold to me. My nickname was Baby Blazer. That's what she called me every fucking day. Every time I saw her, hey, Baby Blazer, come here. Always had a hug for me, always had a smile for me. She worked with Sonny, Jimmy brought her in to help, Sonny see how to work better, learn to work better, I guess, if you will, how to interact more, how to be more of a bitch, if you will, or whatever. But, I never forget, one of my favorite stories is this, I had a rent-a-car, we was on the road, she was there for like 2, maybe 3 weeks, and 2 of the weeks I know, rode around with her, and, one of her friends, Kathy, shout out to Kathy in New Jersey, I think, might be a Philly girl, but I think she's New Jersey. Could get them wrong, either way, I'll probably get heat from both, I don't give a fuck. But anyway, hey Kathy, and hey, TR, while you're at it, because I know you know Kathy. But anyway, riding down the street, in a rental-car, and seeing her at the Waffle House and having breakfast and just things like that. But me and Tracy Smothers and myself are riding down in the rental-car, and then Kathy and then Sherry Martel sitting in the seat right behind me. I'm doing like 75 fucking miles an hour down in the fucking I-75 in the hills of Tennessee. And, fucking cars are passing me, little old ladies with blue hair are fucking passing me. And she keeps screaming like, speed up, Bobby, speed up, go faster. Hell, we just went from like Knoxville over to Johnson City, Tennessee or something like that. And, I don't know, we was on, like I said, 75 or 40 or whatever, but I'm doing the fucking speed limit and then some, and I'm still getting passed. And then, she starts saying, she gets it to where I'm the worst fucking driver in the territory, harassing me and this and that. And it gets quiet in the car, and we're just out in the middle of fucking nowhere. She leans over my fucking shoulder, starts laying on the fucking horn, and she says, cows, cows. And like, what the fuck? You're going to wreck me. And I'm like, get the fuck back in your seat, you know, and this and that. And Tracy's laughing, Kathy. And I, what the fuck is that? She goes, cows. Didn't you see those cows over there in the fucking field in the middle of nowhere? There's a bunch of cows. She goes, cows need loving too, you know. So it's just one of my favorite stories, you know. So my all the stuff she done, my personal is, you know, she named me Baby Blazer and didn't let up on that name. And she fucking had to honk at them fucking cows. And every once in a while, I'll drive down the street and not down the street. Let me reword that. I don't live that far back in the hill. If I'm heading towards Huntington or Charleston, West Virginia, or Columbus, Ohio, or Lexington, Kentucky, where I'm out on a highway, and I see some cows in a field, I'll fucking occasionally honk my horn and think of Sherry in a good way, going, cows need loving too. So there's my Sherry Martel story. And I do think she was more sensational than she was scary. I thought she was a great Sherry, you know.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, she was everywhere. I mean, she was like everywhere in pro wrestling when it mattered, even to the point where I believe you said that Chainsaw Charlie was wearing her pantyhose on his head.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's who he said, give them to me. And I'm almost positive on that story. I'm pretty sure it's in Terry Funk's book. That's where he got them from. So anyway, that finishes up sensational Sherry Martel coming in at number 7, and it's going to release number 6. And I'm hoping that you have a little bit to add about number 6, because I don't have a whole lot to say about number 6 other than it is Mae Young, and with the longevity of her career, she has to be on this list, if for nothing else, taking a fucking powerbomb through the tables by what the Dudley boys at fucking 90 years old or whatever.
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
Her and Mark Henry, I can't stop thinking about those couple of things because I was still watching at the time, but you can tell me whatever you want about Mae Young. That's the only thing I really have on her. And she has to be on this list somewhere, so she comes in at number 6.
Oh, yeah. Well, so Mae Young was born during the Depression. She was the youngest of 8 children. She was from Sand Springs, Oklahoma, so she's probably a second cousin of mine, quite honestly.
There you go.
When she was in high school, she was on the softball team, she was on the wrestling team, and she was doing some other stuff, and she saw that there was going to be pro wrestling women's world champion in town. So she went to Tulsa to challenge the world champion, Mildred Burke. When she was told that you can't just show up out of nowhere and fight the world champion, we'll let you wrestle Gladys Gillum. And she beat Gladys Gillum in seconds in a shoot fight. Immediately was offered a job by the promoter.
Man.
So, right there is the reason enough that Mae Young goes on a list of influential women in pro wrestling. Now let's fast forward to 80 fucking years to when she's still taking bumps with the best of them.
Yeah.
And you cannot leave Mae Young off of a list of influential women in pro wrestling.
Yeah, I agree. And I didn't know that story, but that is incredible. That is incredible.
Yep.
And that's also awesome. You get educated on this show, folks.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's my buddy who runs the Joe on Joe podcast. He said he listens to us because he was kind of a fan of wrestling back in the day, but we cover shit that was left out of the mainstream or has been lost to history a little bit. He goes, that's the stuff I like when you cover, and that's that. Good. But Mae Young was also one of the first wrestlers to tour in post-war Japan.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Wow. Fuck. That's wild, man. See, that's why I was going to say, I'm glad you're sharing this, because I learned from this show when I'm doing some of my homework, and I didn't do a whole lot of homework on Mae Young because I knew that you would, to be honest with you. I knew I would do a little bit more on the Riviera because that was my job this week, you know. So, and I know where we're at on our time there because I've got the same time. Even though my gimmick didn't go off, I know about where we're at. But anyway, what I was going to say is, on your friend Joe from Matt's show, the thing I think that pisses me off more than anything, it has nothing to do with Joe, by the way, I'm just saying, when he listens, a guy like that, or one of the fans that listen to our show and they learn something, myself included, what pisses me off when you go on the internet and it's wide open, it's the information highway, and the first 10 fucking things, if not 20, that you look up, all reflect back to the fucking WWE.
Yeah.
It's like they want to rewrite history and they want to rewrite this. And you're looking at the 50 greatest wrestlers of all time and they've got like 47 of them. And you're like, no, that's not, and sharing the stories about Sherry, or sharing the Mae Young story about how she broke in and what a high school athlete she was, and also wrestling and post World War II in Japan. That's the kind of stuff that needs to be preserved for our sport and for professional wrestling fans and aficionados or whatever, man. We love learning. We love professional wrestling, and we hope you enjoy that from our show as well, Joe, and everyone else is out there listening. And we get feedback, and in the next one, I'm definitely going to use some feedback on from one of our listeners. So, this is a great podcast for that. I'm going to go back to the beginning when you said, hey, we're not losing our fans, so give ourselves a pat on the back. I'm going to give ourselves a fucking pat on the back again. Shout out there to Barry Horwitz once more, and that is because, you know what, we do educate some people, man, and we educate ourselves and we learn from the show too, and I think our fans really, really like that, man. They learn about different venues, they learn about the top guys, the bottom guys, and today they're learning about the most influential women in professional wrestling history, and coming in at number 6 was Mae Young, and I learned about 3 things I didn't even know about her, and that's awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
So she definitely goes on the list. And yeah, I know what you mean. It's like you go to research something, and WWE has co-opted pro wrestling to the point where they are synonymous with each other. Yet, and look, I'm not going to knock them for this. They were the last man standing for a long time. Of course, they caused some of that, but everything is seen through the lenses of WWE. They have co-opted wrestling. They are synonymous. Yet I get angry when people when they say wrestling but think WWE, because that's not the whole thing. Yeah. We'll cover more of that in a few moments here, though.
Yeah, and we will, and that's one thing, too. I know we don't try to shit on other people, and we don't shit on other people's podcasts. We don't try to shit on WWE every week or anything. Sometimes it may come across that way, but that's not what we're doing. We're stating the facts, and it's just when you get those references, man, there's other stuff out there that people, like you said, when you're thinking wrestling and thinking WWE when you should be thinking wrestling, if you will. Yeah. So, anyway, why don't you tell them where you can get my books that help sponsor this show, and I'll do the 10 through 6, and then you can do that. Start with number 5, okay? So number 10, Missy Hyatt. Number 9, Medusa. Number 8, Chyna. Number 7, Sherry Martel. And number 6, Mae Young. And we'll come back with our top 5 as soon as Jeremy gives you this brief, or as long as he fucking wants, I don't care, plug how to support our show.
Yeah, I edit the show. It'll be as long as I want. If I want it just to be me talking for an hour, that's what it's going to be.
And that's fine.
Yeah. Everybody out there, please go out and buy yourself a copy of Bobby's books, which you can get the first one. Pay me, have boots will travel. That's the part I always leave out. You can get that by going to tinyurl.com/blazebook1. And I kicked out on 2, The Education of a Wrestler. You can pick up by going to tinyurl.com/blazebook2. That will take you directly to their Amazon page, and you can buy them there. There are paper copies, digital copies. You can get them pretty much in any format you want, easily right there.
Yes. So go out and buy one. Buy one for yourself. Buy one for someone for Christmas. Don't buy one for your 9-year-old kid. Buy one for, 18 or older if you want. Unless you let your kids, run around the house cussing, using motherfucker every other breath or so. But, anyway, buy one of the books. And also, don't forget, we have a GoFundMe out there. And it's bell-to-bell GoFundMe for the podcast hosting fees. And I'm just going to give that a plug real quick because we're at $200, and it's only $150 shy of our goal of $350. And I set that goal so we could get through about 18 months of podcast. And right now we we're slowly getting there, but $5, $10, that helps a whole lot. We appreciate it very much. If you give a gift of $20 or more, I'll make sure you get a signed copy of Pin Me, Pay Me, or I Kicked Out on 2. Or I'll send you a Blaze t-shirt if I have your size. And also, I just want to say something real quickly. I talked to one of our fans here recently, sent them a book. They said they wanted to get a copy of my second book. They didn't give one. I'm not going to mention names. I got the address. I sent it to them. And this person was so kind because I didn't ask for a dime. I didn't ask for a dime. It's just someone that inspires me. I met him in person one time, and someone just influence your life sometimes. You say, hey, that's a nice person, whatever. And in return, I got this nice letter. They made a donation to the Wounded Warrior Project. And I thought, how fucking cool is that, man? I'd rather that money went to the Wounded Warrior Project than it went to my pocket, because I'm only going to make a couple dollars off the book anyway. But he gave a more than kind donation, and that's between him and myself. And I'm not putting myself over; I'm putting him over. But if you'll go to the GoFundMe, you'll hear it again at the end of the show what the link is for that. Donate $5 or $10. You donate $20, I'll make sure you get a book and I'll sign it for you. But that's what helps this show gets along, man. So we can we are a quarter of the way to 100 episodes, and we're celebrating that. We're patting ourselves on the back a lot today. So get out there, buy a damn book, and or donate some money to the GoFundMe, or any other project. With this time of the year coming up, man, there's a lot of people out there that need help. And, whether it's a little red kettle somewhere, put a dime or a quarter in it. Or if you see someone on the street that needs something, buy them a fucking cup of coffee or something. Just do something. Be kind to one another. Love each other like we say we always do. And we're trying to shit on each other, this and that, while I'm on it. But fuck, buy a book. Go through the links so Jeremy gets a little piece of the pie, I get a little piece of the pie, and you all get the podcast, and we all walk away hopefully a little bit happier, with a smile on our face, or at least in our heart.
You're damn right. Yeah, I try to do that. I try to do that more this time of year when I see people outside the McDonald's, looking for whatever. I try to, give them $5 or buy them a bag of food or whatever, whatever they're looking for.
Yeah.
I did have a story the other day where I was walking into a liquor store and a guy was like, hey, man, I'm trying to get some beer money. I said, what do you drink? And he goes, Bud Light or Coors Light. So I bought him a 3-pack of Tall Boys, walked out, gave it to him. I said, but don't fucking drink that here. And if the cops bust you, you didn't know me.
Well, there you go. But see, wouldn't you rather give it to someone that says, what do you need money for? Beer. I've done that. I had a guy, this has been years ago. He said, hey man, it was a weird odd number. Like, hey, you got $1.58? I was going to go into a BW3s, and I was like, $1.58? And he goes, yeah. I go, why do you need $1.58? He goes, he pointed to not a marathon, Super America or Speedway. They changed the fucking name. He goes, I can get a tall boy over there for $1.58 tax and all. And I want one. And I said, well, fuck, as soon as I get out of here, I'll give you some change. And I went in, bought some wings or whatever to go, and I come out, handed the guy a couple of dollars, and he's like, man, do I get to keep all of it? And I was like, well, you got like fucking 42 cents left. Yeah, keep it. I don't give a fuck. Go buy your fucking $1.58 beer, man. But at least he was honest about it, You can't say he was down on his luck or this and that and give me some sob story. But fuck, he knew exactly what he wanted, and he knew it cost $1.58. He was specific. I was like, by God, if you're that specific, here you go.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
all right, let's get into number 5 here.
Number 5, yeah.
And this is number 5 is actually, as far as I remember, the first woman wrestler whose name I knew was the Fabulous Moolah.
Yeah. You know what? I think you're probably right. I would have to say I agree with you. That's probably the first name I knew as a female wrestler, too, was the Fabulous Moolah. And she comes in at number 5. She could have been higher. She could have been lower, but we put her right there in the middle. So, anyway, I'm going to steal some notes if you don't care. Tex sent me a little bit of something, so I'm going to read whether she's seen as the Wicked Witch of wrestling or a maternal offender of female fighting arts. For nearly 35 years, she kept a rest hold on women in wrestling. She dominated not only the titles, but how and where they were booked. She died still holding the world title she won 50 years before. From Buddy Rogers' valet to woman's champ to rock and wrestling connection to the Attitude Era, Moolah was the constant connection. And so Tex, I quoted you there. That was all coming from Tex's quote. I think I sent it to you, Jeremy, as well. So I stole all that from Tex, or I borrowed it, if you will. But I don't know what more. He put it all in there. But whatever you want to say, tell us about the Fabulous Moolah.
Well, so the Fabulous Moolah, we're going to have to kind of talk of two schools here. She kind of held a monopoly on women's wrestling for a very long period of time, where if you needed a women's wrestler, you went through Moolah or you got nothing.
Yeah.
Now, that, of course, goes hand in hand with her being accused of strong-arm tactics, bullying, also of being sexually exploiting and financially exploiting her quote-unquote students at her school. Her legacy is going to have a big, dark, nasty thumbprint of history on it, but it doesn't change the fact that she absolutely controlled women's wrestling for nearly half a century.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're talking most influential here, not most loved, people.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's a good way of putting it.
Yep.
It's a good way of putting it,
and
man.
her fingerprints are on women's wrestling forever. She is the oldest person to win a women's wrestling title at the age of 76. She is also she was the 48-year WWE Women's Champion or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah, and over a 28-year span was the dominant NWA Women's Champion as well. Her wrestling style could be called hair pulling. I think would cover the majority of it. But I mean, I have heard, and I don't, somebody else would have to back me up or tell me I'm wrong, but I have heard that the McMahon children called her Aunt Moolah.
Oh, is that right?
I have heard that. Now, I don't remember where or when, so I might be stepping all over myself doing it. But as I understand it, they were very close to the McMahon. Moolah was very close to the McMahon family for a long time. But her fingerprints are heavy on the world of women's wrestling.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, though, with the McMahon family being there so long.
Yeah.
So
she does have, I mean, look, she's basically been accused of being a pimp and facilitating rape for money.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot escape this with her. Matter of fact, didn't they have to change the name of the pay-per-view they were going to name after her?
Yes, there was something about that just a few months back that came up. I'm drawing a blank on what it was, but they was going to do the Andre the Giant Battle Royal thing. They was going to do the women's, whatever the pay-per-view or main event was or whatever it was. It was going to be the Fabulous Moolah, whatever the name was. I can't remember what it was, but it did have her name in it. I think they was going to lose some Snickers and some other advertisers. I think some people were going to boycott her or something if they didn't change the name. I could be wrong on the facts. I'm not going to sit here and fucking fact check it, but yeah, they did have to change the name of some kind of event here in the last couple of months, removing her name because of the what you like maybe pimping out, I guess is the best way to put it.
It's
controlling all the talent for all those years or whatever. So
some of the exploitation charges against her are pretty severe. But she held a death grip on women. Like I said, if you wanted a woman wrestler, you went through Moolah or you didn't get nothing.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, like it or love it, the Fabulous Moolah comes in at number 5. So, now with that said, let's move on to number 4. And this one here surprises me because I'd only heard about her. And what you was telling me about Mae Young earlier about, beating up the shooter within a couple of seconds and then getting offered a job. From everything I understand about this next one, which is number 5, is Mildred Burke. I heard that she was as tough as any man in her era, and that she established what the prototype for what a female wrestler would hold for like the next 50 to 60 years. I heard nothing but I know there was a whole lot of stuff involving I guess she was kind of pimped out, if you will, by her husband in some regards, if I'm not mistaken. Billy Wolf, is that right? I'm drawing a blank.
She was married to Billy Wolf for a while.
Yeah, and there was some things where, you kind of had to go through her But she had worked her ass off, I guess, and someone went to slam her, a guy, and they realized that she slammed a guy, and she's like, fuck this, I'm here to, I'm not here to play, I'm here to stay, and then she kept the job for like the next, 50, 60 years in professional wrestling, and was just one tough chick, man, or broad, or whatever you want to call her. But Mildred Burke comes in at number 4 for us on our list.
Yeah, so Mildred Burke in the 1930s wrestled more than 200 men and lost to 1. Now, that's anecdotal, and we don't know if any of those were shoots or not. Still an impressive fucking number.
Yeah.
Impressive number. She was married to Billy Wolf, but he was a bit of a philanderer on the road. So that brought an end to their marriage, and Jack Pfeffer tried to get them to reconcile, but that didn't work, so they split up. If you go and you look at pictures of Mildred Burke, and remembering that a muscular man back then didn't look like a muscular guy does now, she is all muscle. She's got big arms, square shoulders, and she'd probably slap the fucking taste out of your mouth.
Yeah. Looks very, very solid. That's the thing. It's just a solid ass look, man.
Yep. I guess she was from Kansas originally, and she worked at a Zuni Indian reservation at a restaurant, and led to her meeting people and getting into the wrestling career. And she's one of those ones that, when we talk about forgotten pieces of history, she is one that we all need to take a more serious look at and try to go back and remember what she contributed, because she is a name that's going to be lost to history if people don't start paying attention to that.
Yeah, I agree, because I went back and read that, and I read an article. It was basically she was the foremost pioneer in the art of women wrestling, and it wasn't put out by WWE, believe it or not. It was put out by someone that was associated with WWE.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I was glad I read what I did read. It was a short piece, but I did enjoy it. And it's like you said, some of these people, we need to remember them just to keep the history in the truth of the matter of it, in the light, and let people know that before the Chynas, there was a Mildred Burke out there that had big shoulders and big arms and could slam men and beat men. And keep that in mind, folks. That's why she's on the list, and she comes in at number 4.
Yep. And do you want to announce number 3 for us, sir?
Number 3, yes. And these next 3 could have probably come in any order. We had discussed this order, and this one here is a tough one to come in at number 3, because she may have actually moved up in the way we kind of have presented the most influential women in professional wrestling. And number 3 is Stephanie McMahon, and she has been around for over 20 years. I mean, her whole life, of course, has been involved in professional wrestling, but Stephanie's been involved in the business, in 20 years with a creative, but the thing I see, whether she's on TV acting as a heel or trying to work a match or whatever she's doing, what I see more than that, I see beyond that, and that is, I don't know that I've ever seen anything that she's turned down that hasn't helped a charity or a charity foundation or doing something for her community or for a national events and those type things. She may betray an evil person on TV at times, I guess. I liked her a long time ago. I always thought she was a really attractive young lady, and but her character comes across one way, but I think outside the ring, she's probably got a more beautiful heart than what you see on TV. As far as, if you think, I'm not looking at her just saying, oh yeah, she's a good looking woman. I'm looking at her going, she's got a beautiful heart to her. And I don't know much about her. I mean, I know she's married to Triple H. I know she's Vince McMahon's daughter. I know she's been in the business her whole life and things. It just seems like, being involved with, creative team, the general public perception of her, she's just an ambassador, man, of professional wrestling. That's what I like about her, probably more than anything. I'm trying to say is she is a good role model and female ambassador for professional wrestling, woman or no woman, men or no men, just professional wrestling, and the WWE in general. She is just she's at the top, man. There's no doubt about it. Even though we have her listed at number 3, I think she's going to, I think her dominance in professional wrestling, or the other evil words, are going to continue for many, many years to come. I think she's doing a lot of good things for a lot of people, not just in the U.S., but around the world, and she's using professional wrestling or the world of entertainment, I didn't use the other word first, to establish that, you know what, we stand for more than this. You know, this is just because you see this product on TV, there's a lot of stuff you don't see behind the scenes that I think she's involved in, and I think it's a beautiful thing. So that's just kind of my take on Stephanie McMahon, and I just see a beautiful person there. I really do. You know, so
well,
that's my, you know, that's all I can say, really.
Well, no, I was going to say, you know, philanthropy has been something she's done. Now, of course, she stepped on herself one time and said that philanthropy was the future of marketing. And, you know, a lot of people jumped on that. Well, just because I'm sure she runs a business. Marketing is very important to her. But she didn't have to choose philanthropy to do it. You know what I mean? She could have gone another way and handled marketing for the companies just as easily. She just happened to get a little bit soft in the mouth one time when talking about it. I think it's unfair to jump on her for that.
Yeah.
As far as her influence in wrestling goes, yeah, fucking look around you guys. She has shaped what wrestling has been for at least 10 or 15 years. Her and her husband have absolutely shaped what you're seeing now.
Yeah.
Now, of course, this does raise the problem that I don't like it. But, you know, like Ric Flair said, you know, you don't have to like it. You just have to sit there and respect it.
Yeah.
They have grabbed the reins of this company and run with it. She has grabbed the reins of this company and run with it. You know, and I do like Tex's note here. Tex actually sent us a bunch of notes for this week's episode. And one of the ones he says, you know, she plays an evil heel on TV and then an ambassador for humankind in real life. I thought that was a nice dichotomy showing right there. It's probably also a reason why wrestling doesn't hold up as well, because, Bobby, in your day, if you were working as a face and you went out drinking beer with a heel at a bar next to the arena you were working in, what happened?
You got fired.
Yeah.
You got fired, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it was.
Yeah, you know, it's her doing that breaks kayfabe. But, you know, we're talking about her influence and not the particulars that we don't like. And her influence is, I don't know in our lifetime, Bobby, by the time you and I die, her influence will still be on wrestling. I'm going to go that far with it. You know?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying. I think it's going to be for many years to come. So fuck, I'm older than you. So fuck, get a few more years than that. but I do agree with you. I think what you said.
Yeah, exactly.
I second that emotion or second that motion. I'm not a fucking Four Tops or Four Seasons or whatever
or any of those four guys.
Who was it? Smokey Robinson or something. I second that. I'm the whatever. Fuck. I'm thinking. Anyway.
Yeah, I got you.
Stephanie McMahon. We had talked about she could have filled number 3, 2, or 1, and we put her at number 2 or number 3 at this time. Out of respect for our number 2 and number 1 persons. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was trying to spit out there. I sure as hell can't sing it. So, anything else about Stephanie you'd like to get out there?
Not at this time, because you know what? Okay. There's going to be plenty of time for us to talk about her in the future.
Okay, then with that said, I'll take us to number 2, because I'm going to speak a little bit about that, and then I know you're going to speak about number 1. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct, sir.
Number 2, we're talking Christine, Teeny, Jarrett. So there's a book about her called Teeny. It was written by her grandson, Brennan Martin. I met him last year at WrestleCade. Seemed like a really nice young man. So there's a book about her out there if you want to go out there and fact check. Some of the stuff I'm just going to talk about, you know, if you listen to the Cornette podcast, obviously, you hear a whole lot, of Teeny stories or Miss Christine stories. I'm just going to, let you know that some of the things I know, obviously she was her son was Jeff Jarrett, Jerry Jarrett, her grandson, Jeff Jarrett, wrestled. She started selling tickets in the 40s and 50s when Nick Goulas was promoting shows. I guess it was Goulas and Welch owned the Tennessee territory, and Christine used to sell tickets at a weekly wrestling show. From my understanding, from what I read, she got a divorce in about 1945, and she started working at a five and dime like in Nashville, and someone come by, I guess it was Nick Goulas or whoever, and you can fact check some of this stuff, but the Goulas Welch family, she started selling tickets, and before long, she took a full-time job selling tickets out of a shoe store, if I'm not mistaken, Jarman's, Jarmans shoe store, and she sold tickets. And then for like the next 40 years, she stayed in the wrestling business, and she came from a very poor upbringing, and she broke out of that mold. She took care of her family. She took care of an invalid sister. She done a whole lot of different things. And also, from my understanding, I never worked at and we can get into that another time. I never worked the Memphis territory, but, where she was in Nashville there, she was just involved in the wrestling business, various roles from ticket seller to gimmick seller to driving a young Jim Cornette, his mom, from town to town while he was taking photographs back in the day. And I guess she also had some lessons that she passed on to some of the boys about, stuff about, saving your money, flirting with the rats, and I don't know all those, different little things, because, again, I wasn't around her or anything. That's just some of the hearsay and some of the stuff I've read, But anyway, I think that, her coming in at number 2 is probably eventually going to be, passed by Stephanie. But as of right now, for our list right now, number 2 is Christine Teeny Jarrett. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. And keeping in mind, like you said when you and I were talking about it, no Christine Jarrett, no Jerry Jarrett, no Jerry Lawler, no Andy Kaufman.
Right.
I guess you could even push it far enough out. You could say the Poffo family would have never have started the ICW.
Yep.
So without her, there is the entire face of wrestling changes without Christine Jarrett.
Yeah. So I have a little quote here from Double J, Jeff Jarrett. It said, her legacy will always be that she treated this wrestling business like a business. That's always been hard for many, many guys to do. She wanted the guys to have something when their wrestling days were over. And he put, I learned the simple, basic facts from her that I carry on today, that I'll carry on my grave, second and sound and true. They're pretty simplistic. If you follow a few simple rules in business, it's really hard to go wrong. So there's her grandson, Jeff, promoting her. That was on a Slam magazine article. And then, like I said, her other grandson, I'm sure she had more than those two, but she has a book. There's a book called Teeny. It's available on Amazon by Brennan Martin. That's one of her other grandchildren. I think the cover has her and Andre the Giant on it, or at least it did. They may have changed the cover, and the Andre picture and her may be in the middle of the book now. I'm not sure how they've done that, because I've seen 2 different covers. But anyway, there's a lot of information out there because there's several interviews with Jeff Jarrett, of course, but also recently popping up has been a lot of Jerry Jarrett interviews on YouTube, and I'm sure you can hear some of his stories as well. And if you listen to, again, I'm going to go ahead and give him a plug, of course, is Jim Cornette Experience or The Drive-Thru. He talks a lot about Christine Jarrett. So that's number 2 on our list.
Yeah, and real quick, before we move on to number 1, I just set it up. If you go to tinyurl.com/bbteeny, it will take you right to the digital download on Amazon for that book, where you can buy it right on Amazon.
There you go.
So that's BB.
Damn, you're good.
Yep, BB Teeny. All right, Bobby. So why don't you count us down from 10 to 2, and then we'll cover number 1.
Okay, here we go. Sue the Shooter. Sue Shooter. Oh, no, never mind. Hey, Sue, get the fuck out of room 413, Sue. All right, so, all right, we have some honorable mentions, but number 10 comes in at Missy Hyatt. Number 9, Medusa. Number 8, Chyna. Number 7, Sherry Martel. Number 6, Mae Young. Number 5, The Fabulous Moolah. Number 4, Mildred Burke. Number 3 was Stephanie McMahon. And number 2 was Christine Teeny Jarrett. And number 1 is, drum roll for you, Jeremy. Take over.
Linda McMahon.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are out there going, fuck, Jeremy sure is agreeing with putting a lot of McMahons on this list when he shit on the WWE for 24 previous episodes of the show. Yeah, well, you know what, guys? The simple fact of the matter is the McMahons have shaped wrestling, and Linda McMahon is one of the 2 McMahons that started shaping wrestling for the modern era. Her and her husband, her husband bought the business from his father, but she really started to shape the future and dynamic that would go into wrestling. They decided to move their headquarters to Connecticut, where it was 4 people crammed into a tiny office, but they wanted a high-profile address to make it look like a legit business. I'm going to say something that's going to sound anti-intuitive here, but the WWE was the same size wrestling company as everybody else when Vince McMahon took it over from his father. I'm not going to say it was a small business because they made a lot of good money, but every promoter made good money back then.
Yeah.
And they grew it into a global franchise that makes movies, TV shows, albums, you name it. Linda McMahon was there. And when it looked like Vince might be getting ready to go to the pokey, who did he put in charge? He put his wife in charge.
There you go.
And that same Linda McMahon is now the administrator of the Small Business Administration for the American government.
Yep. Sure is.
I just don't see how anybody else could be called more influential in pro wrestling than she was. I don't know how you make the argument.
And if someone says something about, Vince McMahon or VKM or whatever, and you want to talk about what a great man he is, always remember that quote, behind every great man, there's a great woman. And in this case, it's Linda McMahon. Mm-hmm. So, administrator of the Small Business Administration since last year, I guess.
Yep.
But, just a lot of influence behind the scenes on decisions. I think she kind of wanted to stay in the back. And I think Vince's ego, of course, and not knocking him, he's the one that wants to be on camera, So it's one of those things that is probably the way it's worked out. It's obviously working for both of them, it's worked all these years. I don't know how long the fuck they've been married, forever and a day, I'm sure. But think about it, man. Everything that's went on with WWE or in the past X amount of years, she's been behind it, She's been behind it. So, number 1, Linda McMahon.
Yeah, I just don't, there's no way to get around it. Bobby, if I'm not mistaken, and if I'm looking at this right, it looks like her and Vince McMahon were married in 1966, which means they have been married as long as you've been alive, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a damn long time.
Time.
You know what? I glanced over and I saw that. I see the little M, 1966. You're correct. Man, nowadays, hell, for people to say, hell, I'd like to date a woman for like 66 fucking minutes,
Mm-hmm.
And fucking 60 minutes is probably just telling you to get your ass out of the car because I'll be done in less than 5 or 6. But anyway, nonetheless, that's a long time to be married to the same spouse. And that's the thing. They're a very successful family. Their children are successful. And, it's just one of those things that, like I said, it takes a strong woman behind, every successful man. And obviously, whether you like her or whether you don't like her, it's one of those things. What did you say, Ric Flair? So you better learn to respect it or learn to love it or whatever, man, because it's here to stay. And that power train and that power team and that power couple, whatever you want to call them in that company, it's here to stay, folks. And, I couldn't think of, we said Stephanie will probably be number 1 eventually. just based on what we've talked about. But I think our top three were a solid top three, and I think we can't argue that at this point right now, Linda McMahon is number one of the most influential women in professional wrestling.
Yeah. It would take, I mean, you could do a whole episode just on her impact on wrestling. I'm not going to even try to scratch it because I'll leave out things that are more important than the things I mentioned. I believe Tex in his notes to us just said I could write a doctorate's thesis on this alone.
Yes, that's what he said.
I believe the decision to go PG was hers. She's played characters on screen as well as her behind the scenes roles, charitable work. She's been on the board of education in Connecticut. Just she gets overlooked because she was in the background, but you know as well as I do that, all the pushing when you're pushing a stalled car comes from the back. You know what I mean? That's all that pushing comes from somewhere, and it's usually somewhere you don't see. Yeah. And for that, Linda McMahon, we salute you. You've definitely left your thumbprint on pro wrestling.
I agree.
For better or worse, you have definitely changed it. You have molded it like a bunch of clay is what you've done.
Yeah. So anyway, from the Riviera Hotel Casino from Las Vegas, Nevada, I am Bobby Blaze, and it's been my pleasure to speak with my friend, co-host, producer, and editor of the Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze podcast, Jeremy Vilmer. Jeremy, take us out of here, brother. Thank you so much.
You got it. Everybody, thank you for listening. We will be back in 1 week. In the meantime, if you have any ideas for top 10 lists or show themes or anything you'd like us to talk about, shoot us a note on Twitter. I'm at The Geekish Cast. Bobby over there is at Bobby Blaze 744, right, Bobby?
Yes, sir.
And you can get us both at Bell to Bell Blaze. We are on Facebook. You just search for us. We have a group and a page. That being said, Bobby, thank you for coming. Listeners, thank you for listening. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Bell with Bobby Blaze. You can keep up with the show by following the show account on Twitter at Bell to Bell Blaze. Follow Bobby at Bobby Blaze 744 and Jeremy at The Geekish Cast on Twitter as well. You can purchase Bobby's first book, Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots, Will Travel, at tinyurl.com/blazebook1, and Bobby's second book, I Kicked Out on 2, The Education of a Wrestler, at tinyurl.com/blazebook2. You can donate to the show's GoFundMe to help with podcast expenses at gofundme.com/Bell to Bell podcast hosting fees. Make sure to include hyphens between every word in Bell to Bell podcast hosting fees. If you download the show on Apple Podcasts, be sure to rate the show 5 stars and leave a positive review. Join the conversation on the show Facebook group to stay up to date with Bell to Bell fans just like you. Thanks again for listening, everyone.